I am on a constant pursuit to better myself from a place of scarcity, from a place of not liking who I am right now, that is not self-love. What is up, guys, and welcome back to Above the Middle, a place where we talk about all things personal development with me, Joe Gibson. So I'm not here to bash self-help. I actually think self-help has been one of the biggest life-changing things for me. But the place where I trip up with this, and I do it time and time again, is that when I get passionate about something, I overconsume it. There's some days where I felt like I have to listen to a podcast, I have to read a book because I have to be constantly progressing. I always need to be on the ball, I always need to be doing something to make myself a better person. And that logic right there is just completely flawed. And I feel like this is where many people trip up with self-help, is that they go into it with a mindset of there is something wrong with me and I need to fix it. And I can vouch myself and say that I've been in that situation so many times and subconsciously not realizing that I'm going off this mindset of there is something wrong with me, I need to fix myself, I need to improve myself because there's something fundamentally wrong. And that is just such a messed up mindset. And as is the case with goal pursuit, if you do not accept where you are right now, you will never accept where you are. Despite how great you make yourself, despite what you do to improve yourself, there will always be something else. If you don't learn to accept yourself as who you are right now, you will never accept yourself. And this is where self-improvement and self-love differentiate. People assume that self-love is constantly improving, when in fact self-love is loving who you are right here today. And improving yourself and doing all these things doesn't necessarily mean that you are loving yourself. If I am on a constant pursuit to better myself from a place of scarcity, from a place of not liking who I am right now, that is not self-love. That is some anxious pursuit, which is coming from a place of lacking, which is coming from a place of rejection of myself, really. And that is the complete opposite of self-love. So I've really had to become mindful of when I'm using self-help as something to benefit myself and when I'm using it as something to kind of validate that I'm a good person. Because I can get into that mindset of being like, I need to read this, I need to listen to this so that somebody else can reassure me that I'm good or reassure me that I'm on the right path. And while those things are good, like it is good to know, and it's good to get that validation from other people that you are good, which you are, of course. While that validation is good to get, there comes a point where you become overly reliant on it. And all of this stuff is to do with the inner work. It's to do with cultivating this compassion and this self-love for yourself, from yourself. I just did a video on external validation this morning, which I probably would have posted by now. And I spoke about how if we are constantly looking outwards for somebody else to tell us that we are okay, that will never be enough, because if you don't believe that about yourself, there is always going to be that lacking. Those words are going to fade away. You're going to be left with yourself and with your inner beliefs that there is something wrong, that something isn't working for you, and that will never be enough. And this is the case with self-help as well. There comes a point where you have to take a step back and think, okay, where am I using this in a good way, and where am I using this as just some sort of validation? Because again, you can get trapped in an external validation cycle of relying on this when you're feeling down, but then not actually cultivating that within yourself. And the other thing with overconsumption as well, just to touch on, there's only so much information that you can take in a day. There's only so much that you can consume, that your brain can actually realize. And I cannot tell you how many times I'll be listening to podcasts just one after the other. I used to do this quite a lot. I don't really do it so much anymore. But I would get to a point where my brain would just feel frazzled because I'm trying to take in all this information. Why do I behave like this? Why do I do this? How can I improve myself in this place? And I just bombard myself with so much information that I get to a point where I physically just can't think anymore. And again, I think the overconsumption part comes down to just this relentless pursuit and this just desire and this need for somebody else to tell me that I'm good, for somebody else to tell me that I'm okay. And it's like you never get enough of that. It has to come from within. You'll take the time to, instead of reading another book, instead of listening to another podcast, instead of looking outwards for somebody else to tell you that things are alright, that you're doing good, take that time to do that work yourself. Sit down with a notepad, do gratitude journaling, write to yourself, affirmations, however you want it to be, and start validating yourself, because this is where you can start to get trapped in this stuff. This is where you become over-reliant on self-help to improve yourself. So that's where I'm going to leave you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Check back next Wednesday for another video. Check out my blog, talk about this stuff in a little bit more detail. You can find me on Instagram. I love reading your comments, so leave a comment down below, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next week. Thank you so much. I will see you later.